This is the third in a series, although the first two weren't labeled with numbers. A third in a series of the Styers Protocol BrainGym. I'm Mark Styers, American chiropractor, and I have been recording some understanding of stuff that I just refer to as my delusion. We are all, our consciousness, our living are all our own delusions. And that's my word. I don't mean that in any frequency connotation to have an emotion attached. I see the world through stuff without dogma, politics, or ego. I think those three things ruin everything I care about. So I just stick with stuff. And my delusion turned into an idea where I wanted to create a Styers Protocol BrainGym army. And those of you that haven't heard the story, army not being fighting people with weapons, but a group of disciplined individuals that want to make a difference in their communities by understanding stuff. And I often compare it with Germans to a Werkstatt. A Werkstatt is a German word. It's like a service center where you take your automobile to have it serviced. You don't have anything put in or taken out. You just have maintenance performed so it stays running for a longer period of time. And this is all this army is doing. And I subjectively create the ranking system myself, it's just my own little entertainment. But other people, their delusions are matching up with mine. And two of the members of the BrainGym army in Mallorca are moving up the ranking system. I've got an 18-year-old Florian who's moved from private first class specialist corporal all the way to sergeant before he knew he had rank in this man's BrainGym army, and he's moved into staff sergeant. He's been frocked, and his major has been moved up to colonel, but didn't know that. So the colonel and the staff sergeant, Lehman Florian, I give them voice information. They make these amazing videos. So I wanted to go deeper into the stuff. If we think about the Werkstatt or the maintenance, what are we talking about? The human system, just getting people to understand the stuff. This is just known neuroanatomy. So if we go to the slide, elevating brain frequency, and everybody has heard of the third eye, the eye of Horus, the tetragrammaton. There's been various names for this throughout various cultures throughout history, whatever that means. But when you lay it over a lateral transverse cut of the brain, it lines up with the limbic system. So if we go up to the slide, why playing the sphenoid? The limbic system, we're going to talk about the limbic system and how it begins the cascade of life. The limbic system is sitting, if you look to the left there, that big red thing, it looks like a bat. Anatomists refer to the sphenoid as the bat wing, because in a two-dimensional view from anterior to posterior, it looks like a bat. And if you look at that, the top of the outside of the bat wing, the top of that bat wing, is the only external exposure to being able to access the movement of that particular bone. The only other place that bone is accessible, if you look at the bottom, what looks like the feet of the bat, that is a computer-generated image. The real anatomy would put those feet out a little bit wider than the end of that orbicularis oris muscle that goes around the lips, because the feet of the pterygoid would be located. You could feel it on your own self if you run your finger from the teeth on the top, and you just run it all the way back to your furthest back teeth and just touch in there behind where the wisdom teeth were pulled out, and that's the feet of the pterygoid. So those are the only two places accessible to access this bone. And why would we want to do that? All 22 bones of the cranium have acoustical properties, and this is not opinion-based. This is just known science by anatomists. You know, what is a particular frequency? Just think of it as not a particular frequency, but percussion, which vibration vibrates through the bone at different trabecular rates depending on the bone density, the age of the human, the care and maintenance of the system. These things are constantly always changing. And we function from above down, inside out, meaning we function inside this limbic system. So we say activating the limbic system that runs our body and mind. What exactly does that mean? If you lay out the cascade of life on a loop, all of the science, the stuff, if we take it to a biochemical standpoint that all anatomists and physiologists that really understand stuff would put the cascade of life beginning with the first molecule that's dumped into the fourth ventricle inside the limbic system, and that would be melatonin. And if we lay this out into its formulae, the basic biochemistry, melatonin is C13H16N2O2. That is the chemical formula of melatonin. And why do I say that's relevant? Because if you take away minus 1 CO2, you go from C13H16N2O2 minus 1 CO2 to now C12H16N2. Why is that relevant? That's the chemical formula for dimethyltryptamine. Why is that relevant? Because what's becoming popular around the world is people going to places and having these experiences where they're putting C12H16N2 into the system from outside the body, and that means it's got to cross the blood-brain barrier. And our human system is not designed to have anything cross the blood-brain barrier. Like, if you have some kind of disease or condition or pathology that requires you to have a category of drug that crosses the blood-brain barrier, the reward has to outweigh the risk. These are only serious degenerative neurological diseases where people are doing this. But back to why this is relevant, that if you understand this stuff, there's a cascade of events that can, while hyperoxygenating the system and having people breathe in deep and slow, 3 seconds in, 3 seconds out. You know, if you're hyperoxygenating, you're going to be separating CO2, and that's just basic biochemistry in the body. And let's go back to this limbic system and understanding that all of these things inside here, whether it's, when I look at the two lobes of the brain, what I think without emotion and going into detail of the billions and trillions of parts in there is two big lumps of muscular fat. And if you look on that slide, elevating brain frequency, and you look to the left, that different color of that computer-generated image is muscular cartilage inside the middle of muscular fat. Why is that relevant? Because the structure matters. The genius in how we function is just understanding the stuff without, as human beings, we're all going to have opinions of whatever, but just that distracts people just from understanding and what happens if you just tune the stuff in. Just think muscular fat, muscular cartilage, and the fluid in between all have varying frequencies. And this is my delusion that I taught this group of weirdos that can think like me. Just think about stuff, not treating disease, condition, pathology, because there is a whole profession dedicated to that. 9 million globally, they're working on that stuff. There's just very few people tuning stuff in. And what does it mean? It doesn't have any meaning until you get it tuned in, you experience it. It's not theoretical. People label too much stuff with frequency philosophical because they mostly hear about it, because it's been known all through human history. And I spoke with the newly frocked Colonel Halim, up from Major. Congratulations. These young gentlemen, Staff Sergeant and Colonel from BrainGym Army Majorca, they want to put out a series of things, little how-to stuff. I was thinking about this because I have doctors that I'm in contact all around the world, and they're always asking questions, and I want to provide little easy things to do. They can do at home. People can do at home. And we have each of these frequencies. And I will make a little series where they can put out just one frequency at a time. You lay down in a comfortable place. You breathe in and out. There's little instruction over the frequency. You put headphones into your head. And you do that for a sustained period of hyperoxygenation, breathing in and out. 120 to 180 seconds, and you've tuned something in. What does it mean? I don't know. It depends. All these things have different applications. I always suggest people start with 174 hertz. 75% of the population is in some type of physical, structural tension type of pain at any given time. And they're doing varying things to relieve the pain. And all I suggest is trying out the frequency at which pain resonates in the brain. And maybe that's gone down in the fourth ventricle, the pain so deeply in the muscles. Then you use a frequency, balance the muscles, and how much can that wipe that out? I don't know. It's not a treatment protocol. It's just tuning things in. And what do you get out of that? That's up to you. This is only stuff, and it's been known stuff. None of this is new. This is just basic anatomy, and we want people to have an experience with it. So I appreciate you listening, and I know that these men down in BrainGym Majorca, they want to get more stuff out to people having more experience. So I will continue doing this if people want to listen. Thank you very much, and enjoy.